There. Okay. Cool. Ready?
Yeah.
We're talking to Casey from Death by Carrot. Welcome to Pajama People on PBS, Casey.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. I'm going to start with asking you about the name of the band, Death by Carrot.
Yeah. It's more of a project, really, Death by Carrot. It's kind of like a concept art, I suppose. Just like, you know, a lot of the material is sort of a social commentary on the way the greater world makes things feel sometimes, and just trying to survive, just persist, or, you know, exercise the right to thrive as just a natural being or whatever it is. And there's so many lures in the matrix or in society, and so Death by Carrot, I suppose, is just a play on words or a commentary on like what you devote your lifetime to, like if you're chasing these carrots and if that becomes your end, is just doing these things that isn't really in your truth, but like you're sort of like chasing it because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with expectation or whatever it is, but you're just, you know, time is passing and you're, you know, not feeling fulfilled in any sense at all.
Cool. That's a way more interesting answer than I was expecting. Tell us about I was going to say the band, but maybe we'll call you the bunch.
Yeah, there you go. We do actually refer to it as the Carrot Patch.
Ah, right, okay. Carrot Patch, yes. Cool.
Yeah,
So tell us about what would you call yourself? You wouldn't call yourself a band, would you?
No, it's sort of like, it's a project, you know, like my whole thing is that I love being in the world, and I love community, and I think that there's a lot of creative energy that happens, like even improvisationally, like when we're just out in the natural filter of existence and community and collaboration and what that brings with it, sort of a thing. So as a project, it's just more about making a safe space for expression, and I love heavier expressions. Like I'm really into, you know, stuff that is probably more, you know, 70s rock kind of influenced or whatever, but I like guitars and drum and bass and the feeling of, you know, some like, you know, things that are detuned and like have a proper groove with a really nice melody kind of running through it, and the way that makes you feel, and when you're sharing that space with a group of humans. So I think just the infinity loop or what this project is doing is just going around Australia and just sort of wherever there's nodes of kindred spirits, just sort of like parking up somewhere and setting up our amp stack Black Marcia and just creating that energy or that safe space for that expression of, like, you know, the slow, low, and heavy, or that kind of storytelling to be done through the lens of that kind of slow, low, and heavy. That's really what the project's about.
Cool. And your seemingly never-ending tour around Australia that was obviously interrupted by the 2 years that we had off, but you've been doing this for quite a while now. How long have you been touring around Oz?
So, I mean, pretty seriously, obviously, like you said, COVID kind of changed things. So, like, since COVID, we've gone full steam. And a couple years before COVID is when we really started up going around Australia, and that just kind of progressed through a really organic means. And if I have to say that COVID itself really ended up, in hindsight, although being a terrible experience, in actuality, like the particulars of it, like it ended up becoming a really like clarifying, almost a gift. I don't know, like it's kind of illuminated a purpose or a way forward that felt like sustainable or something like that. Like it just really cleared up like sort of what we were doing out there, because we didn't have a choice. If we went into survival mode, we were stuck behind state lines for months on end, and we couldn't afford to move one way or the other. And it really became like an endurance kind of a thing, and we fully had to devote ourselves to the music and to the community in order to get through it, you know. So that was an interesting time. But yeah, we've been at it for a couple of years now, for sure.
Yeah. How many gigs do you reckon you play on average in a year?
Well, I mean, minimally speaking, the Infinity Loop kind of has a fixture of about 150 performances on it officially every year in Australia. And then it's really closer to a couple hundred performances a year because we do a lot of other types of things. And like if you go onto the SoundCloud, we put like live tapings of just like sort of the iPhone in the corner kind of a thing under the monitor, stage monitor. We do that. We put that on the SoundCloud and we keep a vault of all of those performances on the DBC XOXO just online. If you go to even the website, you can put there www.dbcxoxo.com
Cool.
Or search Death by Carrot. So we put that. But yeah, it's like if you include that, and then we love supporting open mics. That's a huge part of like what we believe in as far as like just culture and sustainability. Like those creative spaces, really getting behind that in every community that we go to. We try to get behind that. So I'd say we do at least a couple hundred performances a year.
Cool. That's quite the undertaking.
It feels good though. It's like in flow. It doesn't feel like a burden, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be doing it if it did feel like a burden.
Yeah, like it's odd because like we'll get like 4 weeks off in the year, and sometimes that's some of the hardest emotionally. That's some of the hardest times we go through. At least speaking for myself, out of the crew, that's even though you're conceptually you're going into this mode of like replenishing your spirit, being like with family and with loved ones and all this, and that part of it is like cloud nine and the best and the reason for doing it. But once you get into when you get into a flow of that meditation of live performance and everything that comes with that, it's really scary turning that off. Actually, it's terrifying. Yeah,
it was a bit like that, I think, for a lot of people when COVID kind of switched things off permanently, it seemed, for a while. Sort of not being able to go out and I mean, I don't play any music, but not being able to go out and see music at least was like there's a big part of my psyche was missing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
And that's a part of why we do what we do, how we do what we do as a project is for people, the kindred spirits, for feeling the way that you're talking about, how that feeling of those gatherings is such a cathartic, healing component to it that is critical. And it's, we're getting so smart as a species, it's hard to pretend like that's not real medicine, because I think we know better. We know that these gatherings, it doesn't even take much. Like Australia, the places that we go, we do a lot of gatherings for like a dozen or more people, or just like 30 people, and sometimes they're so incredibly powerful emotionally and spiritually that there's no words to describe what it does. But being able to share in these things, especially original live culture, dance expression, it's not just music, it's the whole thing that the community, and that's what's so powerful about doing it at the local level and what we lost during COVID. And I feel uncomfortable talking about it. It's like a bad word or something, but the reality is that we're still dealing with the effects of it, and it's almost like you can't pretend like it's not still happening in a sense. You know what I mean? Because the venues, like I just heard the Bendigo just shut down, right? They just closed their doors.
Just about to. Yeah.
And so like you still see what's happening, and like, even like with shows around the country these past few years, I feel like since then there's been a big rush to make recovery methods for like really large festivals and things like this. But all of us participating in the underground and on the local level, and all of the independent mom and shop venues that really care about the community and have not just care like, oh, that's a cool thing, but like are a part of it and help sustain it and lift it up and are helping develop Australian culture from the ground floor up. Like a lot of this stuff is almost been sterilized away in a sense of the word being culture.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of a precarious time, I feel like, for the Australian scene. Like we really need to acknowledge what happened, and what needs to happen now is we need to actually like have a concert. We need to like have a conducted kind of approach to healing as a nation, and making sure that we don't lose our petri dishes of culture on the local level that we require to have that healing that you're talking about, that everyone pretty much understands and agrees is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that we're far enough out now from the effects of COVID that we can actually look back and go, wow, that was weird, but it's still with us, not only physically but also mentally, and within the community as well, because there's a lot of hangover, for the want of a better way of putting it, from those times where there's a lot of people going out to shows and not spending much money, and so there's a lot of venues that are really doing it hard. And the whole
and people.
Yeah.
It feels like people are like economic duress. Like that's another thing too, is like the pay gating. It's complicated for us because as musicians, we survive like a little bit on crowdfunding and a little bit on like guaranteed income from venues and stuff. But a lot of it is ticketing is how we get around, and merchandise. And that's just like direct crowd support. That's like, community power. And that's what keeps us going. And so like, it's really, when you see people struggling with their grocery spend and their rent and like just uncertainty of work and the direction of their lives and like living and all of this stuff. And then you say to yourself, well, it's a catch-22. We need these social gatherings in order to have the medicine, the cultural medicine that makes us feel like a whole human and makes us feel like a whole community and lifts us up. And then at the same time, it's like everyone is under so much pressure and strain economically too, to some degree, where it's hard to participate in those things. So we're seeing a dwindling of ticket numbers. Yeah. And then particularly with the pressure of the government subsidized big festivals taking over, like people are going like, okay, well, if I'm doing anything this month, I'm going to go see this big international thing for whatever, a couple $100 or $500 or whatever it is. But then I'm tapped out for like a month or two from going to shows, Yeah,
that's it. And I've always felt that international shows are one thing, but it's the local grassroots. It's the standing in front of a band with 200 people at a local venue and having a great time. That's where it's at. Yeah,
that's where it's at.
Absolutely.
And we're spoiled for choice in Australia because there's everywhere you go. Like Melbourne is really great. I think everybody like kind of already knows how spoiled for choice we are, like as far as quality music. Like the show we're doing this Saturday, there's a act on the lineup called Sheep, and they're just like, they're in our vein, but it's like, part of what we try to do every time we come to Melbourne is we try to find something different and new that is exciting. And that's exactly what this is. It's like the kind of thing that you walk into and go, whoa, this is really interesting, and I'm feeling this, like in a textural kind of a way, like it's really dope. And so I'm excited about that for this weekend. But like even other places other than Melbourne, like one of my favorite music communities in all of Australia would have to be Perth, for example. Like there's amazing music coming out of there. I just feel like there's a lot of emphasis on international acts from a lot of promoters and agents that are working here on the ground, but it's overlooking the fact that we have like super, super crazy good music coming out on the local scene across the nation. And really, like, how can we get the majors and everybody to start super serving that really hard? Because that's good for us. It's like bringing manufacturing back to Australia. We should be doing our own stuff here from the ground up.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yes, and trying to do that one little bit at a time on this radio show, but
it's a beautiful thing, and you've been doing it now for a hot second, and I respect that, brother. Thank you for what you do. It's dope.
No problem at all. Where are you off to after the weekend at Red Betty?
So we start going through South Australia pretty much after Red Betty. We're going to do a stop in Bendigo and another one in Hamilton on the way.
Oh yeah,
and then we go past up the Murray through Renmark and stuff like that. Then we end up in the South Australian desert, and then from there we the Infinity Loop now has kind of become really honed in, and obviously it's drawn a huge amount of inspiration from Indigenous culture and like what we've learned over the years following like sort of local advice everywhere we've gone, because like everywhere we go, it felt like somebody would turn around and be like, "Yo, you're here at the wrong time of year," and that was like the first couple of years, and then finally we started just like listening to the heaven and earth and taking the local pointers in. So we're going to go up through there, and then we go through Queensland. June, July, we're going to be up in the top of Australia. And then we whip back through the remote parts of Queensland and New South Wales to get up the track further to Darwin. And then we go through the Kimberleys, down the west coast of Australia, and by like maybe September, October, we'll be in the gold fields for Pox Eclipse. And if anybody in Melbourne really wants to get a break from the concrete jungle, there's this amazing event happening with some of the coolest underground Australian acts, like super dope. It's called Pox Eclipse. It's in Southern Cross in the Western Australian desert, and I think everybody should go to it. It's one of the most special things that happens. It's like a Mad Max kind of a themed festival that we do, kind of like Australia's Burning Man, if you will, but just way cooler, actually.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be hard.
But we do that, and then so we go... And then from there, we're going to go through the back of New South Wales and then back to Brisbane, where we launch from every year for our Christmas break. So we're going to do about 11 months around Australia, and we should hit everywhere within 300 kilometers of every Australian on this run.
Cool.
So if anybody knows anybody or craves the riffs, you can find us. We're coming to a town near you for sure.
Yes, or within 300 k's at least. That sounds.
Yeah, that's right.
that's quite a feat. And we'll see you back in Melbourne some stage next year, I assume.
Yeah, like it feels like March has become our Melbourne stop because it feels so good in March. What is it about Melbourne that is it just like really nice? You know what I mean?
Everyone's kind of relieved that the heat's over, although this is the only bit of heat we've had this last 3 weeks. The only bit of heat we've had all year.
Yeah, true.
Which is a bit weird.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, all the Christmas and New Year nonsense is over with, and all the public holidays and all that sort of stuff. Schools are back, and people are just going, right, okay, this is the rest of the year, and they kind of relax a bit.
Yeah, I love that feeling. It's just I look forward to coming back and you know, like that whole Brunswick area down there. I love the doing that walk on that main road and all the little shops and things. The food culture in Melbourne is so incredibly dope. I really love it. I miss it every year, so looking forward to that.
Cool. Next time you're in town, we'll get you in the studio to play something live in the studio. That'd be cool.
Amazing.
Casey, I'm gonna let you go now. I'm gonna let you choose the track to go out with.
Well, it keeps popping up because folks have been asking, but let's go with that. Let's go with Wicked.
Okay, cool. Why Wicked? Why do you think that it's so popular?
Well, it's a celebration on, you know, like we all inherit this earth and we're all meant to be here and we all have like sort of this right to thrive, but sometimes playing the Matrixy game sucks and you don't want to do it, but you're trying to like fight that fight to just be up in it one time. So it's sort of just a reminder that it's a wicked game, but you got to stay in your truth and just do you, because that's what you're here to do.
That's it. Yes, well said. Thanks very much, Casey. I'll catch you. Hopefully, catch you in the weekend.
Okay, thanks, brother.
Cheers,
appreciate
man.
you.
Bye.
One love. Peace.
Yes, big thanks to KC from Death by Carrot. And the couple of tracks we had were Wicked Game and Inside Now, the acoustic track at the beginning. Yes, some really interesting stuff. They're playing up at Red Betty on Saturday night, so get along to see that with Sheep, who's somebody that I'm going to have to find out about, because Sheep, yes, great name for a band. Let's see. I think we're going to go with this. We're going to go with the big fat lump of Colour Haze. Why or not? You're listening to Pyjama People on PBS 106.7 FM.